Greetings, citizens. This is Practitioner from the Department of ShitThatGoesDown.com, and I have another Ableton tutorial for you guys. So, this is going to be a really introductory look at some of the ways that you guys can use instrument racks, audio effect racks, and some MIDI effects. Just a whole bunch of stuff that I kind of learned in the 2 years I've been using Ableton and kind of want to share with you guys. So again, really basic tutorial here, so I'm going to take it step by step, so sorry if it gets long or boring or both. And also, my speakers suck, so bear with me. But alright, let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing we're going to do is use instrument racks to add a little variety to the sounds we already have inside of Ableton. So I'm going to drag an instrument rack on my MIDI track. You guys will notice I have this track over here. I'm going to get to that later. Right now, don't worry about it. Alright, so right now we're going to click on that button, and that's going to open up our chain list. Again, really basic tutorial here, guys. So right now that's just a blank instrument rack, and we're going to go ahead and add some sound to that. So I'm going to open up Operator, and I'm going to grab a synth lead. Alright, so now you guys can hear that. And again, so really basic stuff here. You can load multiple instruments into one instrument rack, and it's going to change the sound significantly because, of course, you're playing multiple instruments over top of each other. So I'm going to delete those. And what I want to do, just one example of what you guys can use with instrument rack. There's tons of things you guys can make these things do. But the example I'm going to show you is how to add some variety to this synth when it's played at higher velocities. So to do that, I'm going to actually duplicate it. And then we're going to get a little bit of a bass element here. So I'm going to go to synth bass. Excuse me. And we'll do funky pulse. So that's definitely changed a little bit. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select just the copy in that bass that we just got, right click and group. And so what that's going to do, it's going to create an instrument rack with the copy and the bass inside our first instrument rack. So if we go to this chain, our original, we have just our one synth here. Go to the embedded rack, our two synths over here. Alright, so to make that variation that I was talking about, we're going to go over to these three buttons in that first rack. So you have key, velocity, and chain. Again, you guys can do tons of things with instrument racks, so use your imagination. Anyway, velocity is the one we're going to be using, and I'm going to right click and click on distribute ranges equally. Alright, and just to show you guys really quick, the left and right edges designate the whole range that you guys are going to distribute over, so just a heads up on that. So I'm going to go ahead and move those back so I have that full range. Good. Alright, so now when I play a note softly, it's going to play just on our first synth here, and when it's played harder in these higher velocities, it's going to go to that chain and it's going to play both these instruments at the same time. So let's go ahead and see what that sounds like. Alright, so definitely a little bit of difference there. And you can go over here to this mixer inside the embedded rack and kind of change the emphasis of what you want to hear louder. I'm going to turn my bass up. So again, that's just me pressing one note on my MIDI keyboard at different velocities. So that's just the example for instrument racks I wanted to use for you guys today. So now we're going to go ahead and get into some MIDI effects, but before we do that, we're actually going to create a loop. So we're going to go up here, create a MIDI clip. I'm going to change it to 2 bars. And we're going to throw in 2 notes around C somewhere. Just one at the beginning of each bar is fine. And we'll go F. Alright, so let's go ahead and see what that sounds like. So we just spent that time making that cool variety with that bass element, so let's bring the velocity of our first note down. And that's just going to get played right there through the first synth. Alright, now that we have our loop in place, and by the way, Shift-Tab is that shortcut. So now that we have our loop in place, let's go ahead and add some MIDI effects. So MIDI effects can do a lot of stuff if you guys are using MIDI instruments. So here's just a couple ways you guys can mess around with them. So I kind of liked that sound when I was at a different pitch, so I'm going to throw in a pitch adjuster there. I'll raise it a little bit. Very good. Alright, that sounded a little bit better again. So now what I want to do is I want to take these two notes and I want to lengthen them over their bars, over their bars in that loop there. So I'm going to go ahead and drop a note lengthener after my pitch. Change this. And you can use this view right down here to kind of track the progress and how long you want to lengthen stuff. Alright. So now that we have those lengthened, we're going to arpeggiate them. And so right now is when I want to bring to your attention that you guys can use MIDI effects anywhere inside an instrument rack before the instrument. Alright, so we can have stuff before the first rack. We could have stuff just inside here, just in one chain, switching between these two. And then even further down, we can have it just inside of our individual synths inside of our embedded rack. Alright, so let's go ahead and arpeggiate just this lead right here inside that rack. So I'm going to grab an arpeggiator. You can either drop it here or actually put it in between them, again, right before that instrument. Let's go ahead and see what our loop sounds like now. So you guys can definitely see that being affected. So both notes are being lengthened from both chains, and then just this instrument inside this rack is being affected by that arpeggiator. So lots of variety there. You have things like chord and scale, things like that, and velocity, if you guys are chaining things like we are now. So basically we created all that little variety in that one little loop. Not that it's anything special, but just basically with a note lengthener and an arpeggiator. Alright. So what I want to do now is show you the mystery track and what I have going on over here. Basically you can use just a note lengthener pretty much and an arpeggiator to actually make drum loops, the same way we just made that little loop there. So let's go over here and check this thing out. So we kind of have a complicated looking effect chain right now going on, but yeah, it's not that bad. So what I have is I have two separate patterns loaded in. So basically each one of these patterns has a note lengthener, a pitch adjuster, and an arpeggiator. Alright, so right now this selector is set over here, so it's going to play my first pattern. Let's see what this sounds like. Nothing complicated. Alright, and so that's playing on these samples right over here. And basically, when you're using a MIDI in a drum rack inside of Ableton, it's no longer over a scale anymore. And so any arpeggiations you make, any pitch adjustments you make, aren't going to change the pitch of that sound or arpeggiate that sound. They're going to bounce between the different samples that are set up on this scale inside the drum rack. Alright, so if I go ahead and change the pitch on this a little bit. So that's still only hitting that one. Let's go ahead and change that a little bit. That's better. Alright, so now you can see that arpeggiation going through these samples. Again, it doesn't sound good, it's just kind of random. I'm using this as an example. Next thing I want to show you, just really quick, is that this will also work not just with drum racks and whatnot inside of Ableton, it works with VSTs as well. Alright, so I'm going to switch this over to my chord player drum VST I have going on, so you can hear definitely kind of the same pattern going on, but it's just hitting different drum samples inside that VST, but I can't see them, so can't affect them anymore. So now I'm just going to show you guys the other pattern, and again, these are the same effects, just some slight adjustments to the arpeggiation, basically. So right now that's the sound still going through that VST. We'll change it back to our drum rack inside Ableton. And so these patterns are always going to be consistent. So you can take samples, switch them out, and you kind of get the variety you guys want. Alright, and again, I actually only have one note that's being stretched out and then arpeggiated across all of these samples. Alright, so keep that in mind, and you guys are going to be able to change a lot of stuff. Just kind of going over here, playing with these settings. the distance of the steps. Yeah. And once you guys have a pattern that you like, changing the pitch is going to decide where that's actually playing. So right now you can't hear any sound, but if you guys go up here, that same pattern is being played just a little higher up the scale there. Again, just load your samples in, make the pattern the way you guys want it. So that's a cool trick about MIDI effects. Alright, let's go back to our original loop, and we're going to go ahead and look at some audio effects really quick. Alright, so one simple example of the way you guys can use audio effect racks is just to switch between different presets of one effect, kind of like I just did in the drone example. Alright, I just want to show you guys that really quick with some audio though. So we're going to go ahead, audio effects, and before I drag that in there, I'm just going to collapse some stuff a little bit here. Get that put away. Alright, so we're going to go into audio effects. We have our audio effect rack pretty much right up here at the top. And again, an empty rack, so we're going to have to put something in there. So I'm going to go ahead and throw in an auto filter. Just turn up the amount a little bit so we get some effect. And I'm going to sync that, the LFO, to the BPM here. So that's definitely got something going on for it. Going to open up our chains here, and we're going to duplicate. Drag one of these guys all the way out, so that way you get that full range. Distribute ranges again. And so right now these are copies, and we want to change that second one. So we're going to go in here, and I'm going to go ahead and change the LFO on that significantly, and kind of maybe where it's sitting a little bit. And then we're going to duplicate that one, redistribute these ranges, go to that third one, change the frequency a little bit. Alright. Oh, that was my second one, wasn't it? Huh. Oh well. So, I have 3 different settings set up. And then again, you can actually MIDI select that to any knob or fader or something on a MIDI controller, so you guys can switch between that stuff really fast. And anything you guys, again, drop in a rack, you guys can assign the parameters to it right on those macro controls, and then assign those to a MIDI control surface. So, yeah, that's my tutorial for now. Until next time.